increase of the minimum wage remains a hot topic in Nigeria as the economic conditions for many citizens seem to worsen with each new administration. This debate has been ongoing for years, and recently the Nigerian Labour Union proposed a minimum wage not less than 200,000 naira. Meanwhile, the government is still considering an increase to just 62,000 naira, up from the current 30,000 naira. With an understanding that this minimum wage will go across boards, what is a reasonable amount for minimum wage? What do Nigerians believe is a fair minimum wage? Wait, hold on, before you answer, remember that this same minimum wage will be paid by local government councils, state government, the federal government, and then the private sector, which includes small businesses. Let's also consider the inflationary tendencies that follow such increases. Rise in transportation, foodstuff, and all others. Now, let's hear directly from people on the streets. Come with us.
What you just said is something that is very, it's something that is a burden in so many people's heart as I speak with you. The least that government can give an ordinary Nigerian worker should be 100,000 naira. If you look at the market value now, everything is so expensive. You cannot get something. I don't think there is pepper for even 100 naira now. 100 naira, there is no pepper for that. Even 200, you can't get it. So if you pay an average Nigerian worker 100,000 naira per month, I think it's fair. It's fair. If them, the legislators, those in the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, and the Presidency, the Executive, they earn more, I see nothing wrong for them to give an ordinary Nigerian just 100,000 naira.
Do you think state government and local government can pay that as well?
The state government are our problem. So many of these governors, you see, they embezzle. They have money, they should cut down their costs. They have money, but they won't want to pay because they want to embezzle money. They can pay. They generate their revenue, and federal government still give them monthly allocation, and they will tell us they cannot be able to pay 100,000 naira per. It's wrong.
And local government?
Local government, yes. We know that local government in Nigeria is not working. It has been hijacked by the governors. They hijacked it.
So what are private businesses?
Private businesses, I am telling you, private businesses, they are equally struggling too.
So can they pay that amount?
The 100,000.
Yes.
If they cannot be able to pay, I believe they can pay close to such kind of amount. They must not really meet up the 100,000. At least if you give your staff 80, 70 is okay. For him to be able to transport himself to work and go back and then be able to buy food to eat so that they can perform for you.
But there are many businesses that I don't think can afford up to that amount, private businesses.
Yes, because of the lingering, the economy is just not stable.
So it still falls back to the economy?
It still falls back to the economy. Are you with me?
Yes.
It still falls back to the economy. That is why our government have to be proactive to see what they can be able to do to generate, to pump in more money for these people, private sectors, to be able to catch up what is about to happen. So for me, 100,000 is okay. Thank you.
Well, it will be very difficult for me to talk about the fair amount because there are so many indices that you use to arrive at minimum wage. And the states, remember that states are not also very equal. There are some states that generate more revenue than others. There are states that have derivatives, 13% derivatives. So I can't conveniently or comfortably or statistically, if I should look at statistics in terms of the minimum wage, you cannot have a fair minimum wage among workers. But notwithstanding, I think we should have a baseline.
Which is?
The baseline is, as far as I'm concerned, not wishful thinking, 100,000 naira. Thank you.
Considering the fact of what you asked me just right now about the minimum wage, what government should be paying workers, if I may say, the economy is too harsh. what Nigerians are passing through is so harsh. People are suffering. So even if you say let them be collecting 1 million naira, there are some families that 1 million will not even be enough. They cannot even feed well. They cannot do the basic amenities they're supposed to do. Because number one thing we're supposed to consider is the insecurity of the country. If the government should tackle the insecurity of this country, I believe that prices of good commodities like foodstuff, all these foodstuffs supposed to come down. That's the number one thing. If foodstuffs should come down, even if it is 18,000 they give you, it will have value. We need to have value of what the money that we have. Even if it is 10 naira you have, it will have value. Now, if you have 1,000 naira, you don't have value for that 1,000 naira. So, the government of this day, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, I believe that he's trying his possible best. I know to govern this country is not easy, but believe me, one day it will be right. Many are frustrating the economy of this country now as it stands now. So what we're supposed to tell our able president is let him tackle the insecurity of this country. Nigeria is too big. We have talented people here. We don't even need government to provide that work. We have people that can provide the work, but the insecurity is the problem. You cannot go to farm without you thinking about your life. So if they can get the insecurity right, everything will be okay. So, coming to what you asked,
What do you think would be a fair amount?
the fair amount, minimum wage. Labor there and the government, they are dragging, the government is saying 62,000, right? That 62,000 is very poor.
What amount do you think?
For this economy now, for me, that 250 is just manage. It's manage.
Small businesses can pay that now.
Small
Or
businesses,
state government.
small businesses can't pay. That's why I said that they should tackle the insecurity of the country, make the economy stable. Because once the insecurity is off from this country, economy will be stable.
Minimum wage to me, it will not solve Nigerians' problem.
Okay.
It won't, because the major cause of our problem is not to make money plenty in people's hand, but to provide other facilities that people need, other amenities. For instance, if there is buses on the road, that people could go to work, go to school, go to their businesses without paying much transport, it will help. It will even help in the price of foodstuff coming down. And then government should try and subsidize a little for this fuel, so that it will bring the price of fuel a little down, even if it is 300 naira a litre, so that transport will come down, then foodstuff price will be able to come down. And then they should check into the insecurity that make people not to be able to enter farm, to be able to farm and produce food. Food is very expensive. We cannot buy foodstuff. Even if we give the minimum wage 300,000, it will not solve the problem, because 300,000 cannot even buy food for people to eat conveniently for a month. How much is pepe? If you don't have 1,000 naira, you cannot buy pepe. How much is beans? Almost 3,500. So, to me, increasing minimum wage is not the solution. Let them look at other things. Let them be able to control the price. Even government should check into the prices of things and see how they can control it. Let government also, this fuel that they bring policy and take it up and they keep going up, is there nothing they could do? And what have they done with the subsidized money? They buy buses. By now we're supposed to see like 1,000 buses in Nigeria. Every local government, every road, every street, they should have at least 1 or 2, 3 big buses. Go to UK, you see all these buses at the story building, carry many people at a subsidized rate. You pay 100 naira, 50 naira, 150 and go to where you are. Then this fuel will come down naturally. Maybe demand and supply will bring down the price of fuel. Maybe a market factor will be able to bring down the price of fuel. And if not, let some government do something. Other government have been subsidizing for fuel. Why this one? You should try and do something about it. And then minimum wage, well, you can just step up a bit.
What amount do you think?
I don't know, because even if you give them 300,000, well, then they give them 150 that they are demanding for. it will not even solve the problem. 150,000 is no money these days. Or if that will quench the fuel, then let them do it. Or even 100,000. But remember, there is not only civil servants. There are other people in Nigeria. So if you talk of minimum wage, what of those that are not earning salary? Is the transport that they will benefit everybody? Let them bring it buses. Let them bring down prices of things by other means, not only minimum wage. What of those that are not earning minimum wage? Are they not human beings? Are they not Nigerians? Government should think well. Thank you.
And as a minimum wage, I think it will be good and fair both to the government and to the worker to be paid like 100 and above. Because if you check, only a worker cannot afford a bag of rice. A bag of rice now is something like 89,000 to 100,000. So all your salary have gone. You have never talk about your transport. You never talk about your feeding during the work, going and fro, and you never talk about your house rent, and you never talk about your children's school fees. You never thought about thinking about buying a car or building a house, which means it's not for workers. So if government of a truth for, let's say, minimum wage, that the least our government should pay a worker now should not be less than 100,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talking about the federal, private, and the state government, I think between 100 and 150,000 is 100 and 150,000 is okay for a start. It won't be fair for labor to quote an amount that even the federal government know they can't pay. It is not feasible. So I think between 100 and 150,000 across board will serve well. Then the federal government should also do well to make sure that for those who are in the private sector business, the conditions and the environment to run these businesses are favorable. They need to also check the tax. There are a lot of things that government needs to put in place to ensure that these private sectors can actually pay this amount to their staffs.
Do you think private sectors can actually pay that?
Yeah, I think they can. To be fair, they can. If they are not being too hard on their employees, I think they can.
So your private sector can pay that?
Yes, 100,000 per month, if conditions are favorable. If the tax is not overbearing, I think we can pay 100,000 per month. Looking at all other things being put in place, I think private sectors can pay.
Thank you very much,
I think they
sir.
can. Thank you.
But in my own opinion, I think it's not about the wages that matters now, because less than 15% of Nigerian population are engaged in the civil service. How about the rest? First of all, when you increase the wages in the first place, certainly the price of goods are going to increase. So I don't subscribe to increasing the wages. Instead, you can just subsidize foodstuff. When you subsidize foodstuff, it goes around the country. For instance, you take the major staple foods like rice, beans, gari, let the government draw out a policy or like a board that will regulate that. Then you subsidize those stuffs. Forget about transportation, let it remain high. But when the money in your pockets can access food for you, I think it will go a long way. Now, when you subsidize, when you give minimum wage, for instance, let's say 100,000, state governors, some states that are very poor cannot be able to afford that. And the moment you increase that, minimum wage, certainly there are going to be a ripple effect, because the state, the producers as well as other value chains, are going to also increase their cost of selling of this thing. So I don't subscribe to, personally, I don't subscribe to increase in minimum wage. Rather, subsidize the food. When you do that, it will go around.
Just the food?
The food. Just only the food. It's a short-term. It's not a magical stuff. It's a short-term, approach to tackling this hardship. For example, the rice most consumed, the flowers. Just let government draw a very holistic approach to that and subsidize it, so that if you have 500 naira in your pockets, you can access food that will fill your stomach. But now what we are having 1,000 naira cannot even go anywhere. So I don't believe what they are doing. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir. Nigerians have shared their thoughts on this critical issue. As we await further development, we remain hopeful for a reasonable and widely acceptable minimum wage increase. I'm Senema Natives reporting for Senema TV.